Hey everybody, today I'm going to be making a eggplant lasagna. The first step that I'm doing that I wanted to go ahead and show you guys is I went ahead and sliced my eggplant into some thin slices. I am not making a very large lasagna, that's why I only used one eggplant. The first step that you guys want to do is you want to go ahead and slice these, lay them out, and salt the top of the eggplant. And as you can see, this is bringing the extra water of the eggplant to the top. And you're going to take some paper towels, or a regular towel, whatever you want to use, and you're going to soak up this extra water that's in these eggplants. This is a very important step to do, just because otherwise you're going to have a whole lot of excess water in your lasagna, and it's going to make the eggplant, I know this is going to sound weird, but it's going to make it taste a little different. So go ahead and do this first step. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to brown the meat. And you guys, this is a super easy, as I say, dad-friendly recipe. It does not take much. It's literally doing this step, roasting the eggplants, browning the meat, and then throwing the cheese and sauce all together and baking it. You know, anybody can do this. It's super simple. So make sure that you look for this recipe on ketosismom.net, and we will go ahead and get started. After you guys have blotted your eggplants dry of the water that's coming out, go ahead and spray it or rub it, if you don't have the spray, with a little bit of olive oil before you put it into the oven. You are going to bake these at 375 for about 10 minutes before you put them in the pan that you will then be baking for the lasagna. I am now browning my meat. As you can see, I threw a little bit of minced garlic on top of the meat. I want to show you guys, I am using 1.4 pounds of what they call a meatloaf and meatball mix. This is a ground beef, pork, and veal, 1/3 each. This is just what I like to use. It's an Italian style. If you guys can get this, get it. If you can't, just get some ground chuck, you know, whatever you can do. I'm also going to be using Flavor God's Italian Zest, as well as a little bit of the Garlic Lover's spice on this as it cooks. All you're going to do is keep mixing and stirring this until all of the meat is brown, and then you're going to set it aside. Okay, so while the meat is browning, I want to go ahead and show you the other ingredients that I'm going to be using. I am using a Trader Joe's shredded pepper jack blend just because I like a little bit of that spiciness on our lasagna. And I'm also going to be using the Trader Joe's shredded mozzarella cheese. I will be using about 2 cups of cheese, the mozzarella, and I will just be sprinkling with the shredded pepper jack. I will not add the pepper jack into the MyFitnessPal macros. I will only have the mozzarella added in there. So if you guys add goat cheese to yours, the pepper jack to yours, anything other than just mozzarella and the ricotta, then make sure that you add that into your macros. I will be using this whole milk ricotta. Here is the macros for this. This is for 1/4 of a cup. I will be using about half of this container and then putting the other half away. This is the sauce that I will be using. I normally just use the normal Rouse homemade sauce. This is a roasted garlic sauce. I use Rouse just because the net carbs in this is a little less. I will be lining the bottom of my casserole dish with this sauce before I start loading other things on. So I went ahead and sprayed the bottom of the pan that I'm going to be using, or the dish that I'm going to be using, with olive oil so that it's ready to go once my meat and the eggplants are ready. I do go ahead and take this and mix in with the meat so that it's already mixed together so that I don't have a lot of spreading to do. You do not have to do that. You can do it separate. You can layer the eggplant, the meat, and then this separately if you would like. I just like for this to be with the meat already. So the meat is now browning. As you can see, I used my flavors. A lot of people ask me, do you drain your meat before you place it in there? It's really up to you. A lot of these juices that you're getting on the bottom are full of nutrients and they are full of fats. So most ketogenic dieters like to add the juice as well. And then just note that your lasagna will be a little bit juicier. You can drain if you wish. It is really up to you. I will be draining about half of mine off just because I don't like for a really running lasagna. But I will be trying to keep some of it in the mixture. So once this is good and brown, I'll show you what the layers of the lasagna will look like. Okay, so I've now turned the heat off of the meat. I'm actually going to move it over. I have about a cup of the ricotta cheese down in here. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to thoroughly mix this all together. Once I'm done mixing this, it'll be time to remove the eggplants from the oven. Okay, so it's time to start layering. I went ahead and put my sauce in the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and layer my eggplants. Once I pull them off with my tongs here. And I'm going to be laying them just like this. So as you see, I will be able to fit about 3 or 4 across, depending on their size. Just be sure that however you lay them, you do not have to overlap them if you do not like. Some people prefer to overlap these as much as possible. It's really just up to you and your personal preference. I personally like to try and separate them a little bit, but that is just me. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing this. Once I'm done with this, I will be topping it with my meat mixture and then topping that layer with shredded cheese. Okay, so just so you guys can see this, here is my sauce, eggplant, meat, and then cheese layer. This is the first layer. A lot of people like to cook these in dishes that are not see-through. I personally like to cook them in a see-through just because I like to see what's going on down in there. Because as you're cooking this, if you decide that it is a little too soggy, you can always pull it out and drain some of that off while you continue to bake it. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to do one more layer on top of this. Then I'm going to cover it in foil. My oven is already preheated to 400. I will be baking this between 30 and 40 minutes, covered with foil in the oven. Alright, so this is what she looks like before she goes in. Please note that I did add about 3/4 of a cup of the pepper jack cheese to mine. I fully recommend adding a little bit more cheese outside of the 2 cups of mozzarella, a cheese of your choice, and then add that into your macros. I will say that goat cheese tastes amazing with this dish. Another option that you could use is you could make a cream spinach, so spinach with cream cheese, butter, and a little heavy cream, and layer it on one of your layers on this. The next thing you're going to do is I do spray my foil with olive oil before I place it over top. All I'm doing now is I'm going to gently wrap this, place it in the oven at 400, and come back in about half an hour and check on it. Okay, so after we've cooked about half an hour to 40 minutes, you're going to then uncover your bake, and you're going to bake it an additional 20 minutes. And like I said, guys, if you guys don't like a lot of that liquid in there, go ahead and dump it out at this stage if you want to, okay? Okay, everybody, so this is our final bake. As you see, as always, Eileen's here and ready for it, right? I will note that on here, I do let this sit for about 30 to 45 minutes before I even attempt to start slicing it. You guys will see that there is a lot of extra juice. I actually did use all the juice from the meat just to show you guys that you will have a lot of extra juice in here if you do that. And again, you can attempt to drain this, you know, while it's baking. You can attempt to drain it now. You can leave it, and then as you're scooping it out, just make sure that you aren't getting these juices. It's really just up to you. So this is, I will end up cutting this into 8 slices. So there will be 8 servings of this. This does freeze and reheat really well. My husband takes this for lunch. We will also be eating this for dinner this evening. So I hope that you guys enjoy this simple eggplant lasagna recipe. If you want more easy recipes, go to my blog at ketosismom.net. Or as always, you can follow me on Instagram at ketosismom. Enjoy!